Hey everybody, Robert with RC Archery, and you're watching Tuesday's Tip of the Week number 113. In this week's video, we're going to continue talking about how to adjust certain areas of our bow to help it shoot easier for us and to aim and be more accurate for our shot and how we're actually shooting the bow. In this week's video, we're going to actually look at loops, talk about the height, what we're doing as far as how to adjust those, what we're looking for, what it affects with our aiming, and with our natural points of aim on target. This is a step that I take with my coaching students, but this is something that is widely talked about, especially by people like Paige Pierce and other archers that take to social media and give this tip out. And it's hugely successful whenever you get this set up correctly for you. And it way surpasses what people try to do with weighting their bars and getting weights in certain positions and certain length of bars and putting bars in certain places. Like this one tip here, when we're looking at the height of our loop and where it sit on our string, this is going to make way bigger of a difference. It's going to help you shoot way easier every time you pick up the bow. All right, so when we are looking at where our loop sits, the height of it, and everything that's going on, I want to get a couple things out of the way, just make sure everybody understands what we're doing and with this and what it's for as well. So when we're adjusting this, this is not for tuning, not at all. The only thing that this is going to be for is how we want to hold on target and what pattern our aim is taking. And a lot of people will ask me questions, and we'll talk about this when I'm working with them on coaching or when they're just asking questions. And if you have this loop height set up correctly, from there, when you go to tune your bow, you will adjust the rest. You will use the height adjustment on this rest, and that's what you're doing to get whatever tune you are looking for. If you change arrow diameters and go to a larger diameter arrow or a skinnier diameter arrow, you're not going to change the loop height at that point to adjust for the nock height. You're going to change the rest height again and adjust that for the tune that you need for that arrow. So when I'm getting a new bow and working on this or setting up a bow or whatever, I'm first worrying about my aim before I ever do anything with tuning. I could care less about tuning when I first get the bow. I need it to aim well. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to get the arrow relatively to 90 degrees when I set this up. If you've never done this before, or if you're starting this on a new bow, or maybe you're just starting this for the first time, what I recommend for the majority of bows and the geometry of the risers and the way that everything stacks up, you can run the center of your arrow. So when you have it knocked on the string, which coincides with the center of the pulling point of your loop, through the middle of the burger button hole. And that's where I'm going to say start out with it there. If you've never done this, you have a new bow, a new riser set up, if you're changing bows, something like that, start there. That's a pretty even place. Most manufacturers, when they set these bows up, the center of the bow right now is somewhere around this burger button hole, a little below, a little above, or right in the middle. So that'll give you kind of a central pulling location. Now from there, if we want to change the way our aim is reacting, so say we are aiming and we notice a tendency for the bow to want to fall down on target. And this is with just a normal stabilizer setup, nothing crazy is going on. Or if you really want to get into it, you could take the bars off or the weights and everything off the bars altogether. We are looking for how we're adjusting the leverage and what we're doing here by raising this loop up. And this is starting here because I see a lot of people have this issue commonly. They're aiming really well on target, and then the bow is wanting to drop down and they're fighting it to get back up. They weight their back bar more, they weight their front bar more, whatever they're doing, they just keep having this issue. Especially if you're a dynamic shooter and you're pulling through the shot. As you're pulling through the shot, if you start noticing the aim wants to go down on target, a lot of the times it's this loop that we need to change and move up on the actual serving itself. So the reason we're doing that is because if you take this bow the way that I have it set up right now and I pull on it, it's pulling here, more so the center of the bow. But if you walk up the loop or walk up the string a little bit and start pulling, you're pulling more from the top of the bow. Same thing if you go down below the center of the bow and start pulling on it, you're pulling more from the bottom of the bow. So you're lifting it up, or you're lifting the bottom of the bow up. So there's really not a rhyme or reason as to where you need to set this up. A lot of people will say that they run their arrow in a certain location, the bottom of the arrow in the middle of the burger buttonhole, or the top of it, or the bottom of it, or wherever it is. There's really not a combination that's going to just be like, this bow needs this and this bow needs that. You're actually just going to want to find what works best for you and what aims best for you. Because for me, on a lot of bows that people have said they need their loop really high on the string, I'm more closer to the middle. So it really just depends on your grip pressures. If you put more heel into the bow or more webbing of your hand into the bow, have a high wrist, low wrist, that kind of thing. And you're really just looking into it to see, like, where does this need to be? But while you're doing this, you can adjust that loop height up and down while you're working on your aim. I would suggest doing aiming drills. Don't even really need to shoot, but you can simulate a shot if you are a pull-through style shooter or more dynamic in your shot. All right, if you want to dive a little deeper into this and go over the two methods that I use to set loop height, that information is going to be in a separate video on the members portion of this channel. If you're not a member of this channel and you would like to be, to have videos like that where there's extra content for our standard YouTube videos or form breakdown of professional archers, access to me for coaching at no charge, stuff like that, down in the description of this video, there is a link that you can click on to give you that info, or you can click the join button next to subscribe here on this channel and it will give you that as well. In this week's video, I'm going to go over a standard way of doing this that you've probably heard Paige Pierce talk about before, but also if you've already got everything tied in and you're not really sure if you want to commit to moving that loop because you don't know if that's what's going on or not, I do have a method that you can use that will help you figure that out and get you extremely close to simulating moving that loop without actually having to do it until you make sure that that's what you need to do and it works right for you. So thank you for watching this video. I appreciate everyone's support. Make sure you're liking, subscribing to the channel. It's helping out a lot with the algorithm, the comments down below. And if you're still watching to this point, comment down below Archery Vision. I appreciate you watching to the end of the video. I'll see y'all soon.